The meeting will come to order. We are holding our regularly scheduled meeting held Tuesday, July 14th, 2009, 9 a.m. And at this time, I'd like to call on Father Tree from St. Helen's Church to give the invocation, and I will give the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise.
Let us pray. As we enter into hurricane season, let us turn to our Heavenly Father to watch over all of us, especially here in our county, in our state. Lord God of mercy, who through your Son gave us a marvelous example of charity and the great commandments of love for one another, send down your blessing on all of our local government, church leaders, who so generously devote themselves to helping others and leading us when they are called in time of need. Let them faithfully serve you in their neighbor. We ask this through Christ our Lord.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I just certainly have to comment on the young faces that we have out there today.
Not only that, the young voices in the pledge.
In the pledge, that was very, very...
felt good to hear that.
Yes, enlightening and lifting.
Yep.
That was great. I couldn't help but make a comment on that. Yep. And all the young faces, and that's you too, Freddie. So. All right. At this time, we will move on to the proclamations and presentations. And I see with the number of people we have, they're probably going to want some pictures. So we'll go through the proclamations and presentations and then have the pictures immediately after that during a brief recess, if that's okay with the commissioners. Okay. Any additions or deletions or emergency items, commissioners? Seeing none, I'll enter. 5D has been deleted? Yes, 5D has been pulled. Move approval. Got a motion to approve the agenda from Commissioner Flesher. I'll second that. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The motion passes unanimously. Next, Proclamation A, which is presentation honoring the recipients of the 2009 Dan K. Richardson's Award, Father Murphy and parishioners of Holy Cross Church. Commissioner Flesher will be presenting this.
Father Murphy. Thank you for coming here today. Please come down to the podium. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I will be presenting the proclamation honoring the recipients of the 2009 Dan K. Richardson Award, Father Richard Murphy and parishioners of the Holy Cross Catholic Church. Whereas the Dan K. Richardson Humanitarian Award was established to identify and publicly recognize those citizens who actively pursue the opportunities to improve the quality of life for all who live and work in Indian River County. And whereas this year, the 4th annual Dan K. Richardson Humanitarian Award is being presented to Father Richard Murphy and the parishioners of Holy Cross Catholic Church for their lifelong commitment to philanthropic endeavors, for which over 12 years have directly benefited the residents of Indian River County. And whereas through their charitable organization, the parishioners of Holy Cross Catholic Church, they have financially supported a multitude of nonprofit groups that have encompassed important community causes involving social justice and community outreach, as well as aiding a multitude of Vero Beach residents in financial need. And whereas they have shown more than just a financial commitment to the community, they have demonstrated a heartfelt desire to maintain the dignity of and improve the lives of residents from all economic levels, and have demonstrated that commitment repeatedly by active involvement in founding groups, serving on boards, mentoring leaders, and volunteering their time and talents where and whenever needed. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Indian River County Board of County Commissioners that the recipients of the Dan K. Richardson Humanitarian Award be honored and emulated for the exemplary contributions to the community. Duly adopted this 14th day of July 2009, signed by all 5 county commissioners. Father?
Thank you. It's a pleasure for me to accept that on behalf of the people of Holy Cross Parish, and I thank you for your kind words.
Thank you, Father. And as you come up to receive the award, one of them that sticks out that y'all do every year is the Samaritan Center. And, of course, you have that at your parish hall. And having the opportunity to work that charity auction and to be a part of that, the festivities there to raise a large amount of money for such a great organization, this is truly one that y'all deserve. And interestingly enough, I can't remember the others off the top of my head, but I do remember that they were all very worthy organizations that received the Dan K. Richardson Humanitarian Award, and you're in great company.
Thank you. It's our pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Father.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you.
That was a pretty short sermon.
Next, we have the presentation of a proclamation honoring Rotary International Exchange Youth in Indian River County, and Commissioner Solari will present that.
It's a pleasure to present this proclamation today honoring Rotary International Exchange Youth in Indian River County. John, Tracy, you want to come up with the recipients? There's plenty of room by the dais. Tracy, you're not usually that shy. Whereas Rotary International, founded on February 23rd, 1905 in Chicago, Illinois, is the world's first and one of the largest nonprofit service organizations. And whereas there are over 1.2 million Rotary Club members comprised of professional and business leaders in over 32,000 clubs in more than 200 countries and geographic regions. And whereas the 6 local Rotary clubs of Vero Beach, Treasure Coast Vero Beach, Sebastian, Vero Beach Sunrise, Orchid Island, and Vero Beach Oceanside are made up of nearly 200 Rotarians living, working, and contributing to our communities in Indian River County. And whereas the Rotary motto, Service Above Self, inspires members to provide humanitarian service, encourage high ethical standards, and promote goodwill and peace in the world. And whereas over 8,500 secondary school students each year experience life in another country through Rotary's Youth Exchange program, run completely by volunteers with the goal of developing world peace and understanding. And whereas the following 10 students from Indian River County will leave this summer to serve as a Rotary Youth Exchange ambassadors to countries around the globe, attending secondary schools for an entire year in the language of their new home. Katie Zagurski, going to Spain; Clint Jones, Argentina; Katie O'Brien, France; Sarah Kelly, Brazil; Connor Hendricks, Thailand; Michael Cheong, Japan; Austin Carroll, Italy; Lily Kenny, Turkey; Brandon Riggs, Sweden; and Caroline Fields, India. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Indian River County Board of County Commissioners does hereby proclaim July 14th, 2009 as Rotary International Youth Exchange Day in Indian River County, Florida, and encourages all citizens to join them in recognizing Rotary International for over 100 years of service to improving the human condition in local communities around the world, signed by all 5 members of the Board of County Commissioners. Good day, and before we give you an opportunity to speak, I want to just mention the fact that Gary and I are both Rotarians and are aware of the service that Rotary provides to our community. So we'd like to thank the Carrolls, who are very active in 2 different Rotary clubs, but tell the kids who are about to go on this youth exchange program that not only will you have a great experience, but you'll be experiencing part of a great organization. Tracy would like to say something, say a few words?
Sure, thank you, Mr. Solari. These students are, without doubt, the bravest people in this room, because at age 15, 16, 17, and 18, they're leaving in the next 2 to 4 weeks or 6 weeks to spend an entire year living in another country with other families, strange customs, strange foods, everything strange to them, and yet they're brave enough to do that. They have not only spent the last 8 months learning the language of where they'll be going to, but also studying not only the country, the customs, the political situation of their countries, but also learning about here. They've had to prepare information about our own county and our own cities so they can serve as ambassadors, and they're fully trained. And if you want to ask them a question later, let's see how they do on their county. Thank you very much, Commissioners, for giving this opportunity to these great students.
Thank you, and it certainly is a wonderful program. I had the opportunity when I was a senior in high school, had an exchange student stay with me, and actually he was from Germany, graduated from Vero Beach High School whenever he came over, and you're right, it's not just what they go and experience, but whenever they come and what the host families even learn is a tremendous opportunity. So thank you very much, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Sweden. That's all.
What part?
That's cool.
Good luck.
Jeez.
Where are you headed? Argentina. Good luck.
That's great. And then next we have the presentation of a proclamation designating the month of July 9th, 2009 as Recreation and Parks Month. And Commissioner Flesher, you'll be presenting this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Cliff and team, please all come on up. I know it's a tough act to follow after seeing these young and budding minds and these beautiful young voices, but I don't do the lineup. But
Now you get the ugly old guy, right?
you most certainly affect a lot of our youth in our community, and we appreciate that. That's why I have the great honor and privilege to present this proclamation designating the month of July 2009 as Recreation and Parks Month. Whereas area parks, recreation activities, and leisure experiences provide opportunities for young people to live, grow, and develop in contributing the members of our society, and whereas park and recreation agencies provide outlets for physical activities, socialization, and stress-reducing experiences for all ages. And whereas parks, playgrounds, ball fields, nature trails, beaches, open spaces, cultural centers, and historic sites make a community an attractive and desirable place to live, work, play, and visit, which contributes to an ongoing economic vitality. And whereas parks and recreations agencies touch the lives of us all, positively impacting our quality of life and enriching all aspects of our community. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Indian River Board of County Commissioners that the month of July 2009 be designated as Recreation and Parks Month, and furthermore the Board encourages all citizens to contribute and celebrate by participating in the diverse activities offered through our Indian River County Recreation Department, Parks Division, Sandridge Golf Course, and the Public Shooting Range. Duly adopted this 14th day of July 2009, signed by all 5 county commissioners. Thank you, team.
Absolutely.
Cliff?
Thank you. On behalf of our staff, first I'd like to introduce Mike Redstone, our Assistant Recreation Director, Fauna Hotrup is our Aquatic Supervisor, Bob Wilson with Athletics, and of course David Fleetwood and his Public Works Parks team that supports everything that we're able to do, including this past weekend's very successful event. And most importantly, we really want to say not just thank you all, but thank you to the literally hundreds of volunteers that help us deliver programs and services to the community. Without them, it just wouldn't happen. So we appreciate everybody's support and the recognition we've received today. Thank you.
Thank you.
And come on out to our facilities. Thank you, Cliff. All right, Mike. Dave, keeper of the fields. Dave, good to be here. Thank you. Do you want to take a break because they don't want to take pictures?
Yeah, after the presentation. Okay, next we have the final presentation of the annual report of the Workforce Development Board of the Treasure Coast by Gwenda Thompson. Gwenda, welcome. Thank you for coming down. And then immediately after this, we'll take the brief recess for the pictures.
Okay. Good morning, Chairman Davis and Commissioners and Administrator Baird. It's a pleasure to be here. As usual, I do this annually with you. Today I have a special treat for you. I would like to introduce some of our board members that are here today. The 3 officers of the board are here. There's Kathy McKenzie, who is with AT&T. She's the Area Director of External Affairs, and she is currently Chair of the Workforce Development Board, now doing business as Workforce Solutions. Our Vice Chairman, Soma Melnick from Macho Products, out of Felsmer, and we had Patrick Shepard, who is with Prime America, also a resident of Indian River County. I think this is the first time ever the Workforce Board has had 3 officers from one county. But let me tell you, this team works together extremely well. This morning, I have a special treat for you. First of all, you should have a copy of your annual report in front of you. But this morning, Ms. Catherine McKenzie, Chairman of the Board, is going to give you the annual report.
Thank you, Gwenda, and I love this podium for obvious reasons. Good morning, Chairman Davis, Commissioners, County Administrator Baird, and staff. I am very, very proud, A, to be a resident of Indian River County and to be able to present the annual report. What a difference a year makes. At this time last year, the unemployment rate in our county, in Indian River County, was 7.2%. Today, it's 13%. Last year, Workforce Solutions served 4,306 clients in Indian River County residents. This year, 5,093. That's an 18.3% increase. Last year, there's going to be a test on this, by the way. Last year, we had 1 service delivery point, a one-stop career center in Vero. This year, we have 3 delivery sites, a new business service center on 82nd Avenue, a mobile unit on 25th Street, and if any of you have seen that, there's a big AT&T logo on the back of that. I'm with AT&T. And an outreach at 2525 St. Lucie Avenue. This year, 3 sites provided 96,980 services to individuals and more than 3,010 services to employers. With the growth in our customer base, we are seeking another larger location for serving job seekers. Over the past 12 months, the Vero Centers assisted Benchmark Hospitality, Marshalls, Home Goods, Ace Hardware, Travel America, and Spring Hill Marriott with major recruitments. 3,611 applicants were recruited and 188 referrals were hired. In our last complete program year, with a budget of approximately $7 million in federal allocations and competitive state grants for 14 grant-funded programs throughout the 4-county region, which is the Treasure Coast and Okeechobee County, we served more than 22,000 job seekers and 1,521 employers, plus 351 youths ages 14 to 21. 92.6% of the funding paid for direct services and support to employers and job seekers. The remaining 7.5% was spent in administration, and I'm sure that all of you are aware how low that percentage is for administration. We also made a huge transformation this year as a result of a 3-year strategic plan and reduced funding. We united the regional workforce system under one logo, one name, Workforce Solutions, and that we felt it was better described what we do. And as of January the 1st, 2009, assumed direct delivery in all areas except youth programs. The money saved by doing direct delivery save no longer paying a third of the party's administration costs and performance incentives to deliver workforce services for us is being invested in training the local workforce. We've launched a new website, www.yourworkforcesolutions.com. This new, more dynamic site is growing as we continue improving and enhancing the site based on feedback from users and our desire to provide as many services as possible through this modern technology. Our vision is that our website will become the primary portal to our local workforce system for employers and job seekers. We've also implemented stimulus projects with the Summer Youth Employment Program in midstream. We're enrolling adults and dislocated workers in training with our approved training providers, emphasizing green technologies. In the coming months, we anticipate launching more training opportunities and youth services. We value your interest, your participation, and your input in our work. And we welcome Chairman Davis as a member of our Workforce Consortium and Commissioner Fletcher as a member of Workforce Board. He is certainly invaluable to our board. And we look forward to working with both of you and the Commission as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McKenzie.
Now, of course, if you have any questions, I'm going to give it back to Glenda. Thank you, Glenda.
Thank you.
Are there any questions, Chairman?
No, I don't have any questions. Commissioners, any questions? Just that it's kind of uncanny the number of times as I drive out of the parking lot here and I see somebody they're looking for something, or they stop me and they ask me, where is your mobile unit? They're coming, needing the services that you provide, help with unemployment claims, and just many of the things that y'all do. And to have that mobile unit here, I know it's being used just because just the happenstance that I have whenever people are asking me where it is. Now I know that you're there until 4 o'clock, and I know your hours and all that kind of stuff because of the service that you provide and the people that are needing them.
We really appreciate the collaboration and cooperation we've had with the county. And there is one very special individual in the audience that I would like to recognize, who is also a member of our Workforce Board, a very important member because she's the Economic Development Representative from Indian River County, Helene Castletine. And it's that collaboration with Helene and her counterparts throughout the Treasure Coast that make it possible for us to do many of the tasks that we do in the community. So thank you very much, Helene.
Ms. Gwenda, I just like to have the opportunity to plug a new facility out west once again and encourage our citizens to take a visit and see the exact energy that we've talked about in Ms. McKenzie's presentation.
Right. We do have a new location on 82nd Avenue, which is out towards past the mall on the left-hand side. And just as you turn onto 82nd Avenue, it's the first large building on your left. It's a large 2-story building. We're on the first floor. That center is for career assessment, for referrals to employers, for employers to use for recruiting purposes, and we do our major operations out of there for Indian River County to administer the other sites as well. We are in the process right now of kind of combing through Indian River County to see if we can find another location that we might be able to rent temporarily, a larger location, because with the higher unemployment, we have many more people who need the services. And right now, we're somewhat limited with the space that we have when it comes to actually serving individuals who need one-on-one attention. So we are looking. If you know of anything, be sure to give me a call or shoot me an email. I would be happy to check out anything that you think might be appropriate for our services.
Commissioner.
Yeah, and Glenda, just want to give you an opportunity to, I know that you all just kicked off your best place to work survey, and you might want to just give a quick update on what's going on with that and how businesses can get involved, and then your big awards tonight.
Okay, great. I probably don't know as much about this as Joe Coakley does, since he is just in that completely. But we just kicked off this year's Best Places to Work for Indian River County. It's an excellent opportunity for employers to learn more about their organization and how it compares with other similar organizations in the county. Best Places to Work is a business survey. Businesses complete the survey and submit it. It can be done online. And with that, there's a comparison of those surveys, and we give out awards to those organizations that really show innovation when it comes to employment practices. And the information from all of those surveys, they're anonymous surveys, businesses are not identified, but the information from the surveys are compiled into a report that is shared with all of the businesses that submit a survey. So it's excellent information. It's information businesses cannot get anywhere else. So there's a real benefit to participating in that particular program. You can visit our website. There is a logo on the left-hand side that says Best Places to Work. And again, our website is www.yourworkforcesolutions.com. If you click on that Best Places to Work, you'll get more information about the survey.
Okay. Thank you very much. At this time, we'll take a brief recess to take care of some pictures. Freddie? Sure, absolutely, please.
Freddie Wolford with the Gifted Youth Activity Center. I just wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you first to the Indian River County Commission, who has been very supportive of the Gifted Youth Activity Center. So how befitting was it to kill two birds with one stone, if you will, of having them to see the county commission, which supports the Gifted Youth Activity Center and these youth that you see here. It's not often that we have the opportunity to have young people to come in during the morning to actually see our local government in action. But also it gave us an opportunity to let them see Father Murphy of Holy Cross Church and come and show their big appreciation for what he's doing for Indian River County as a whole. So on the count of three, guys, I want you guys to say thank you very loud, okay? Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you! All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, Freddie.
That was great. We're going to take a brief recess and take care of some pictures and reconvene in 5 minutes.
If we stand down there, they can all stand in that horn, and then we'll be closer to them.
Do you want it just like this? Okay. Right. You want to move the chairs out behind it? Does that make it a better picture? And if we move Commissioner Laurie out with that face, a little further than that. Oh, sorry about that.
That would push a lot of people out. Wow. Okay. Okay, guys. Okay, how's that? How's that?
All right.
I can always hide in the shadow.
How are we doing? Thank you.
Hang on.
He wants to go overseas.
You gotta get your passport photos now.
Wow.
Take.
That was a neat opportunity. I had a German marry this thing with me. And that was cool. It was so funny because he was an agricultural exchange student. And so he started at a dairy in Wisconsin.
Oh, really?
In the winter. And they gave him the opportunity to come to Florida. He just went on it. You know what? I'm good with that.
You want to try?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Was there any other pictures necessary?
The direct people left, so.
Okay.
Take another half hour.
Yeah, really.
No. Everybody loved knows that they would want a picture with us.
I don't blame him. I don't blame him. It's incriminating.
The meeting will come back to order. Next, we have, that moves us to the consent agenda.
Move approval.
Second. Got a motion to approve the consent agenda. If there's no further discussion, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. One question, Mr. Chairman.
All those opposed, nay. And then the motion passes unanimously. Yes, sir.
There was a letter that I think all of us received, I'm not sure, from Janet Perry, and wanted this to be part of the record. I brought it down. I don't know if they've done that. It was opposed the sidewalk, had some questions, but they wanted it in the record, so.
Okay. All right. absolutely. The, okay.
Isn't
That would be under Public Works,
That'd be, yeah,
number 2,
I-2.
and that,
I'm sorry, I thought we were looking at the, oh, that's Pine Grove, I'm sorry.
That's well.
okay. All right,
Well, you're
next,
chairman, Wesley.
somebody had to do it.
You did that.
All right, here we go. Next is the public items, public hearing to amend Chapter 105 of the Indian River County Code to create new sections of 105.014 to provide local preference policy and procedure for local businesses and county contracts. I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Collins.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, some weeks ago the County Commission requested that we draft an ordinance that would provide a preference to local businesses. The ordinance is somewhat modeled on St. Lucie County ordinance, but we tried to streamline it a little bit. And at the same time, the board requested the ordinance be brought forward. They also requested the purchasing manager to look into how this ordinance might have affected bid awards had it been in place. So Mr. Davis went back through the last fiscal year to October 1st and did some compilation. Had this ordinance been in effect since last October, there were a total of 25 bids put out on the street. Of them, of the 25, in 8 cases we didn't have any local bids. In 17 we did have local bidders, and when we did have local bidders, 10 of those 17 won the awards. In cases where we did have Indian River County bidders, 7 of the bids. In 5 cases, Indian River County won the awards. There were 12 nearby counties which would be considered local under the terms of these ordinance, which participated in bids, and they would have achieved 5% of the awards under this preference. The way the ordinance is structured, a local business has to be a business that has a staff and fixed office or distribution point with a street address, not a post office box. In Indian River or the immediately adjacent counties, Brevard, Osceola, Okeechobee, St. Lucie, and at the direction of the board we also included Martin County, although it is not directly contingent. And the requirement is that the local business have their fixed place of business for at least 1 full calendar year prior to the issuance of the bid. That would be demonstrated by having a local business tax receipt issued by one of those counties. If the bid requires any licensing or competency card from the county, that would be required as well. And when a proposal goes out to bid, there will now be a certification that the applicant can complete to establish that they're a local bidder entitled to that local preference. If the bids are submitted and the apparent low bidder is not a local bidder, but we do have local bidders within 5% of the low bid price, that low bidder will be given an opportunity to match the low bid. In the event there are more than 1 local bidders within 5%, the lowest local bidder gets the first option. If they can't match the low bid, the second local low bidder will have that chance. In the event none of the local bidders can match the low bid, it will be awarded regardless of the locality of the business. We've also provided some exclusions that say that the ordinance won't apply where prohibited by federal law or Florida law, or it won't apply to contracts under the Consultants Competitive Negotiation Act where we can't request bids, but we have to go out for the qualifications of contractor, people providing services such as surveying, architecture, engineer, landscape architecture. This also won't apply if the scoring criteria to award a bid have already incorporated points that are awarded for a local presence. And the General Services Department will implement this ordinance through their incorporating the substance of this ordinance policies and procedures in their bid specifications when they're put out. The ordinance also provides that the General Services Department will provide the board the results of this local preference and the status of any regional reciprocity for the other counties that are eligible to be considered local under this ordinance at a 6-month period and a 1-year period for the board to determine whether the ordinance is effective or they want to continue or modify any provision of it. So at this time, I would ask that you, if you don't have questions, open the public hearing. If you do have questions, I'll try and answer them.
Commissioners, any questions?
I don't have any questions, staff.
Okay. All right. At this time, we will open the public hearing. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this? Welcome, Ms. Offit. Name and address for the record, please.
Thank you. Good morning, commissioners and staff, public. Nancy Offit, 686 Dade Palm Road in Vero Beach, and I represent the Treasure Coast Builders Association. We heard a few minutes ago the unemployment statistics, 13%. It's terrible, but I think that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's so many people who are not included in those documentation statistics that have left the community, whatever. So I think that we really need this ordinance. I applaud you for getting behind it. I hope that you still, even those of you who I know have doubts based on principle, I hope that you can get behind it. It's obviously a shorter term trial period. I don't know how many actual capital improvement projects are in the works that where people could take advantage of it, but I think that the community really needs to know that you back them, and that any of the dollars that would be awarded under these contracts would stay local. They would be dispersed in the community and have the multiplier effect that we all need to stay in business and make this a vital community. So I do hope that you will support it. As it's written, I don't think that it has any detrimental effects to Indian River County people. Other communities have already adopted local preference. This gives our residents the opportunity to go there, and the fact that you've done it on a regional basis, I think, is a very positive step and one that we require in order to support it. So I thank you very much, and I'd be happy to answer any questions, but I think that Mr. Collins certainly gave it its good presentation.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Offit. Mr. Thompson, welcome. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning. Jeff Thompson, Seville Avenue, Vero Beach, and I can agree with everything Nancy said. We'd appreciate if all of you give this serious consideration, because everybody that lives here and works here knows that how bad our community is hurting, and a little bit of support, well, this could be a lot of support by the commission here would go a long way. It's not a fix-all by any stretch of the imagination. It's not. I really don't think it's much of a preferential treatment. I think it's something that you all could do to give some local people maybe a little glimmer of hope, and we appreciate your thoughts and your votes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Anyone else wish to speak? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I think.
Oh. Mr. Rigby, welcome. Name and address for the record, please.
Good morning. My name is Bill Rigby. I reside at 8465 59th Avenue. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. Thank you, Mr. Collins did a very good job in his analysis of the data that we need to push forth for small business. And again, I applaud you, Mr. Will Collins, because I think it's about time that we move in the right direction to help out small business. I support the data that you have supported with the body and the county commission this morning. I fully support that. I think it's a move in the right direction. And again, I hope that each commission this morning consider your ideas and thoughts that you have brought forth this morning, that we can move in the right direction for as small businesses in the community. And again, I thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
This was my initiative. I'd like to make a motion to approve.
I got a motion to approve, and I will second that motion. It is now open for discussion. Commissioners.
I was thinking of maybe just having a replay of the last meeting where, but we'll cut off about 5 minutes if I just sort of give a synopsis of our problems with this ordinance from last time.
Sure.
I've never heard a cogent argument for this type of protectionism or by local ordinances, and I've not heard one today. But I've heard many, many reasons for not having buy local. This is a type of protectionism which is anti-competition and discriminatory against other Americans. It's failed in the past. It's not going to work this time. Last time I didn't have any good, colorful exhibits, so I'll just hold up. Hopefully the audience can see it from the old copy of a Wall Street Journal talking about the dangers of turning inward. Countries are attempting to protect their own companies and workers from the economic crisis. The financial and political damage will be severe. Actually, in this case, I don't think the damage will be severe. I don't think it'll be even noticeable in any real word. It's more just a slight negative that's being sent out to other businesses outside our community saying, don't bother, come to Indian River County. But as the data that Mr. Collins showed, it probably won't have any material impact in this county at all. But it's just the wrong step. I think that this county commission has done a number of positive things for economic development in the last 6 months, and I see this as a step backward. I'll conclude by just reading one quote from The Economist magazine. Quote, "But the reemergence of a specter from the darkest period of modern history argues for a different, indeed strident response. Economic nationalism, the urge to keep jobs and capital at home, is both turning the economic crisis into a political one and threatening the world with depression. It is not buried again. If it is not buried again forthwith, the consequences of this will be dire. But the Buy American provisions in the stimulus bill are alarmingly nationalistic. Our buy local ordinance today is alarmingly parochial. Again, this isn't a major thing. I don't think it's going to have any material impact on this county, but it's a small step in the wrong direction. For these reasons and the ones articulated at the meeting 3 weeks ago, I'm against this ordinance."
Thank you. Commissioner Wheeler?
Yeah, I could echo what Mr. Solari said, and I'd like to add that, you know, Indian River County is not a closed society, and I don't believe in protectionism. I do believe when countries outside the United States flood our market, we need tariffs and so on and so forth to keep a level playing field. But I don't think that it's appropriate to give an edge. I think what's going to happen, and I also agree with Mr. Solari that I don't see that. I think in 6 months we go back and evaluate this. It's going to be inconsequential. It's going to encourage outsiders not to take the time to bid because it costs money to do a bid on projects, and that's going to. They're just going to say no because they've got the 5% edge locally. We live in a free enterprise system. We deal with Americans across the country and where we can get the best deal because we've got to pay for these, and that's going to come out of your tax dollars. And when you eliminate competition, the prices go up. I understand why this is being done, but I think it's more of a feel-good thing so the commission can look like they're trying to do something, but I think the results are going to be minimal, and I think it sets a very poor standard to not allow outsiders to participate in our system, and it will drive prices up if this thing goes further than this, and this could be the camel's nose under the tent, so to speak.
I guess my response to that is I disagree. What I see happening here is I see the opportunity for the people that have generated the revenue, the tax dollars here in this community, to be able to provide the jobs in this community through local employment. Whenever you look at these houses that are going into foreclosure and you look at the companies that are laying people off that may be able to provide services for the county, I see this as a net positive for the community to be able to keep those houses out of our court systems that we're having to pay for. I see them by not having to have people resort to petty theft or something along those lines in order to be able to make a living. We see that crime rate going up right now, and I see this as a net positive. I see it as something that we should try. I see it as something that we ought to give the opportunity for the local businesses, not just in this community in Indian River County, but in the surrounding area, because I do understand there's counties to the north and to the south of us that hire people from Indian River County, and that is significant, just like Nancy Offit said with the Treasure Coast Builders Association. The only reason they're behind this is not because of any reason other than we are making it more regional than just Indian River County specific. And when you take that into play and you look at the data of the past, I think the staff's done a phenomenal job in laying it out, and I believe this will be a net positive for the community, and I intend on supporting this and looking forward to evaluating it in 6 months. And Commissioner Wheeler, if you are right about that, I will admit it then, but right now I think it's something we should move forward with.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to direct everybody's attention to page 66 in your backup material under the consent agenda. Earlier this morning, we approved a bid award for $1.3 million for some construction work at the county parks maintenance complex. And that award went to a company from Naples, Florida. And I'm sure they're a very fine company. I don't even know who they are. But to me, letting 1.3 million walk out of this county at this point in time, I just don't believe is right. We're extraordinary times, and Commissioner Davis, you said it right. This is money that the taxpayers here in this county have entrusted us to spend and spend wisely. And I just hate the thought that we're letting 1.3 million walk away. If this ordinance had been in effect prior to this bid, based on the 5% rule, certified general contractors from Melbourne and Summit Construction Management Company from Vero Beach would have been eligible to try to match the low bid. And I think just looking at this, that's 1.3 million that we're losing, that if we don't take action, we might lose again in the future. So, and I understand Commissioner Solari and Commissioner Wheeler, your points on the principle. I don't see this as permanent, but I do see it as something we need to do now, given the crisis we're in and the times we're in. And I do support the buying local. I've talked all along, like to encourage everybody to do it voluntarily as an individual. When you go shopping, there's a 4-step process. Was it made here in Indian River County? Was it made here regionally? Was it made here in Florida? And was it made here in the U.S.? And that should be your process when we go spend our money to keep it here. So I do support this, and I agree that it should be temporary, but I think we need to move forward with it.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to comment on that. Just looking at these numbers quickly, the lowest bidder, which was in Vero Beach, was $50,000 higher. So I don't look at $1,357,000 going out. I look at $50,000 we're saving. And if you go on down to some of the other Vero Beach bidders and Fort Pierce bidders, you're looking at some of them over a $2 million or over $1 million difference. Maybe it's 200,000.
Well, Commissioner, to that point, can I just clarify for you?
The 5% kicks in.
Well, no, if they're within 5%, they have the option to match the current low bid. So we're not paying $50,000 more. We're still going to pay the 1.3. It's just, in this example, certified general contractors would be given the option. Do you want to match the low bid or not? If they say no, then Summit would get the option to match that low bid. But we're not paying more. We're still taking the lowest price.
I understand that. I just don't know why, and I never did understand why we have to pay a premium to deal locally. People should be competitive.
We're not.
Yeah. It won't be. And they have the option to deny.
Well, the premium will be that people won't bid.
Mr. Chairman? I appreciate the comment, and I hope that the local business community have heard your arguments as well. But I'm looking at it in a wider direction. It may be nice to consider this as just for Indian River, but we're looking at this as far as a regional concept, and my intention was to bring back as much sustainability we can to the local business community. I believe that $1,350,000 might represent a few mortgage payments, a few car payments, and I don't know if you're all aware of this, but every night at least one car is departed from Indian River County, and it's not because they're driving it. It's because it's on the back of a hook. The people are losing their cars and they're losing their homes, and we have to do something in order to sustain our local economy. I'm looking at this as far as Osceola County. Osceola County has already initiated their buy only and local buy only, and it's an incentive, but it's for Osceola County. Brevard is doing a survey right now. St. Lucie has already enacted their buy local preference as well. Most of them base around 5%, and I believe it's just very discomforting to our local business community not to step up to the plate and do something, because if we don't do anything now, perhaps maybe they'll go away, and if they go away, then it'll be too late to do anything.
Commissioner Solari?
I just want to make a couple comments on what Commissioner O'Brien said. He mentioned $1.3 million walking away. I don't think that's the case at all. When I was talking to this about this with County Administrator Baird yesterday, he noted that most of the work is going to be done by local subs, and I believe that's probably true. And we don't know. This is kind of like Toyota cars versus GM cars today. My Toyota probably has as many American parts and it was built just as well in America as a lot of GM cars. And we just don't know. And that's the problem with this. We know that this adds another layer of government. We know that we've spent staff time on this and commission time on this. We don't know anything about any positive effect, but it does give a negative perception. So at the end of the day, I still think this is another layer of government, which we don't need. It's a form of discrimination against our fellow Americans, which I think in all cases is bad. And I would just see us have one very thin, less layer of government and keep the government out of the private sector and do, as Commissioner O'Brien said, individually, as members of this community, buy local at every time when you can, which is, again, what my wife and I do every day here, and I'm happy to do that. Thank you.
Would that be that you buy locally in local car dealerships? And, I just want to, as a point for the record, is that I've purchased 2 American-made vehicles in local car dealerships, and one of them is closed at this time. And I think that there was not enough patronization for our local dealerships, so perhaps maybe that might be a point you would want to bring out.
That one of them was a German company, though, that built the truck.
What is that?
Diamond Chrysler. You got a Dodge truck.
Right.
It's the same thing. I mean,
Made in
Toyota,
America.
Honda, BMW, they're all made, Hyundai, they're all made in America.
This is about a local issue, and that vehicle was purchased in a local car dealership.
I appreciate it. Let's get back on task, and let's, I believe we have a motion on the floor in a second.
Yes.
And if there's no more discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Aye.
The motion passes 3 to 2. I'm so used to saying unanimously.
Nice,
Passes 3 to 2. Yeah, 3 to 2 with Commissioner Wheeler and Commissioner Solari dissenting. Okay? Thank you very much, gentlemen. All right, next we have the public notice items. Mr. Collins.
At the public hearing scheduled for August 18th, 2009, Kennedy Groves, Inc. /510 LLC's request to abandon a segment of 86th Street between 47th Avenue and County Road 510 and a segment of 46th Avenue between 86th Place and County Road 510 in Wabasso. The public hearing will be held on that abandonment, August 18th.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Collins. And next we will move on to the Human Resources. Welcome, Mr. Sexton.
Good morning, Commissioners. The item before you today under Human Resources matter is a memorandum of agreement with the Teamsters Local 769. Knowing the budget challenges that the county was going to be facing going into next fiscal year, we started a dialogue with both unions, our IFF and our Teamsters Local. We had some success in negotiating a memorandum of agreement with the Teamsters Local 769, which basically says they will agree to forego their increases for next fiscal year. So I'm actually here in front of you with some good news for a change. Instead of higher health insurance and budgets and all that other good stuff, we're here to talk about the union foregoing their agreement or foregoing their raises in their contract next year. And that's the agreement before you, and we're just looking for you to ratify the agreement.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move approval of staff recommendation.
Second.
And I don't see him here. Is Steve Myers here?
He had to go to Miami this morning.
Okay. I just want to comment. I know that Joe and Jim, you had talks with Steve, and I believe this was ratified at about a 71% vote. Is that correct? Something like that?
Yeah, it's like 80-something to 30-something.
Yeah. Times are hard, and we appreciate the Teamsters stepping up and Steve working with the county to come up with a solution that, keeps everybody working hard and doing what we can for the taxpayers. So I just want to commend Steve and the Teamsters for coming forward with this.
And in addition to that, I just hope that I hope they get the recognition that they deserve out of this for helping us with this.
I'd like to thank the employees and Steve personally for cooperating on behalf of the taxpayers in this hard time. Steve worked very hard. He understands the environment we're in, and they unselfishly did this, and we really appreciate his cooperation. It was a great thing for the community. It saved us $470,000, And we really appreciate all the employees voting for this and Steve working with us. It just is unbelievable.
The employees most certainly need and deserve a raise during these challenging economic times, and I do commend Steve and all the members of the local for stepping up to the plate, and those are convincing numbers. 71%, is that correct?
Yes.
71% of the membership said we'll stand by and maintain our position for our jobs and not be seeking out additional funds. I know they truly need them, and let's hope that next year is a better year, and that opportunity will prevail. Well, thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to make it official and do a proclamation next week thanking the Teamsters, the union,
Certainly.
Steve, the employees, and for their unselfishness in doing this to help their fellow employees that now don't have to lose positions. And I think that's a positive, and I'm very, very pleased with that. So if we could have a proclamation next week and present it to them, I think it'd be appropriate.
And keep in mind, the other employees who are not represented by the union will not get raises either. I want that to be clear.
Okay.
There's only going to be one segment that'll get raises.
Yep.
Yes.
Commissioner Wade, would
Thank
you like to include that in your proclamation?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, no, yeah.
Okay.
I think it's a tough year, and it's really gratifying to see people pull together.
Okay, we've got a motion on the floor in a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Absolutely. Please come forward, Ms. Renzi.
Thank you and good morning. Renee Renzi, Waverly Place, Vero Beach. I'd like to know which group of workers this Teamsters local represents. Is it the firemen? Is it the clerical workers? Who are they?
Mr. Sexton and Mr. Baird.
It represents mainly our field people. The IFF, the firefighters, they did not forgo their raises. All the other employees cooperated.
The firemen are still going to get theirs.
Yes, they still get, they did.
Okay, thank you.
Just to be fair, though, Ms. Ramsey, both the firefighters and the Teamsters, when we just did their contract, they both agreed to forego a cost of living increase for this coming fiscal year. So both unions did agree to that. What the Teamsters have agreed to right now is to forego their annual step increase, which is based on longevity of service. So that's just the difference. Okay, just want to make it clear the firefighters did forego their cost of living increase, but they will get their step increase.
Well, for now, I do commend the county workers. Okay,
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Okay, that motion passed unanimously. Thank you very much, Mr. Sexton. Next moves on to the Public Works as-built restoration and assessment role for paving drainage improvements to 10th Court.
Move staff recommendation of the as-built.
Got a motion to approve staff recommendation from Commissioner O'Brien and a second from Commissioner Fleischer. No discussion, we'll vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The motion passes unanimously. Next, we move to the approval for the Indian River Drive North Sidewalk from North City Limits to Sebastian to Roseland Road. Federal aid project number FM 409504 it's 114 through 117 in your backup. Mr. Moore. Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Commissioner Will is handing this. I guess that's part of the letter that we need to...
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The clerk gets a copy of this. Yes, Mr. Moore, welcome.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. For the record, my name is Chris Mora. I'm the Assistant Public Works Director for the county. This morning, we have the Indian River Drive sidewalk project that we'll be presenting to you. This is actually the north segment of the Indian River Drive sidewalk project between the north Sebastian city limits and Roseland Road. To identify it, located on a map, this is a map of the North County with Indian River Drive. Indian River Drive runs along the west side of the river in the North County in the Sebastian area. Roseland Road is up towards the top. US 1 is the red corridor winding through the map there, and eastbound and westbound 512 are down towards the bottom. The existing sidewalk along Indian River Drive, which was built a few years ago, starts down at the intersection of the south intersection of Indian River Drive and US 1 and winds to the north for a distance of 2.3 miles. And it ends right at the north city limits of the city of Sebastian. It's the area in green, the line in green shown there on the map. The proposed new sidewalk would extend from where the old sidewalk, the existing sidewalk ends at the north city limits and extend another mile or 1.1 miles north to Roseland Road, winding along the river just as the current sidewalk does. This is a close-up view of the proposed sidewalk along Indian River Drive. It would start again at the North Sebastian city limits right around where Captain Butcher's is, and then extend north for 1.1 miles up to Roseland Road. This is just a close-up view of that same proposed sidewalk. This is a view looking south along Indian River Drive where the existing sidewalk winds along the west edge of the river. It's a 6-foot sidewalk, and it's also located about 6 feet off of the edge of pavement, the east edge of pavement of Indian River Drive. The new sidewalk that's proposed would match the old one. This is a cross section of the Indian River Drive right-of-way. You can see over here to the left the 2 lanes or 22 feet of existing pavement of Indian River Drive. Then to the off to the shoulder would be a 6-foot sodded area, and then we'd have a 6-inch thick sidewalk for 6 feet wide at that point. And then from the outside edge of the sidewalk, we would have a 4-to-1 slope, 4 feet of run to 1 foot of rise, taking that fill down to meet the existing grade of the adjacent parcels. And let me go back a little bit there. 85% of the project, the majority of the project would be this cross section. This is with an uncurbed section with the sidewalk running along the side of it. To give you an idea of what this would look like in an aerial, we'll draw that in. Those 2 lines represent the edges of the sidewalk located 6 feet off the edge of Indian River Drive. And then it would be 12 feet with the 6 foot of separation, and the 6 feet of sidewalk would equal 12 feet to the outside edge. About 15% of the project would have this typical section. This is a curbed typical section in areas where we've had homes that are close to the roadway or driveways very close to the roadway or circular driveways. What we did in response to citizen complaints, resident complaints, we actually pulled that sidewalk in closer to the road, and we'll be installing a type F curb, which is a 6-inch barrier curb, to give some protection to pedestrians that would be on that sidewalk that's located a little bit closer to the road. And then at the back edge, we would have the same 4-to-1 side slope leading down to the existing grade. This is an area along the east side of Indian River Drive where that curbed section of sidewalk would apply. If I draw those same 2 lines, then you can see it's much closer to the roadway, but it's because we have a lot more obstacles here. There's driveways and homes much closer to the road, so we pulled that in to have a lesser impact on those residents nearby. And this is just a depiction of what the sidewalk would look like once it was built there along Indian River Drive. For a history of the project, back in the year 2000, the MPO rated this project as the highest priority enhancement fund project in the county. A year later, in 2001, they approved using the enhancement funds for the Indian River Drive sidewalk project. In 2003, Commissioner Adams and staff met with the public and residents. They commented on our original design, which was for an 8-foot wide sidewalk. They had a lot of complaints about the sidewalk being too close, so as a result of that first public meeting, we redesigned the sidewalk project, pulled it closer to the road, as close to the road as we possibly could. We shrunk the width down from 8 feet wide down to 6 feet wide to, again, lessen the impact. And that was as a result of that first public meeting. In 2006, we entered into a LAP agreement, a local agency program agreement with the DOT, whereby we would use federal funds, enhancement funds, to design and build the project, and the county would do the design and run those funds down through the county. And just about a month ago, Commissioner Davis and staff had a second public meeting in the City of Sebastian Council Chambers, talked to the public again, and we received more comments regarding our current design. At that meeting, we presented the current plans. We met individually with many homeowners and addressed a lot of their concerns. We heard many of the same comments that we heard back in 2003, but the general feeling was that we would bring this back to the board and get the board's approval before we move forward with any bidding of the project. Some details of the project: the total length of the project is 1.1 miles, a little over 6,200 linear feet of sidewalk, 6 foot wide sidewalk, estimated cost of just under $500,000. We had anticipated bidding the project this month. Assuming we get board approval, we'll move forward with it. We could start as early as August of 2009 this year. It'd be about a 3-month, 90-day construction, 90 to 120-day construction period. And the funding, again, it's 100% federal funds. The state is actually administering the funds through the MPO. And then we have a local contribution also in the way of design and construction. We're actually running the project and designing it with county staff. There are 2 alternatives that we brought forward for the board to consider. The first alternative is to approve the sidewalk plan as submitted and authorize staff to proceed with bidding and constructing the project. Alternative number 2 would be to deny the project, and staff is recommending alternative 1, where we move forward with the bidding and construction. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions on it.
Commissioners, any questions?
I've got one question. Any reason, or there probably is a reason, and it may be cost, but any reason why it wasn't brought all the way up to US 1?
I think we've looked at several alternatives. Right now, the segment takes it to a logical stopping point at Roseland Road, which Roseland Road connects back over to US 1. We could have run it farther. It would have added cost to the project, but I think when it was originally approved back in 2000, it was just basically the northern boundary was Roseland Road, but it could be extended. It would have to be, we'd have to add some design to it and take it forward.
I just had to ask the question, and One of the reasons was I think this is a great project, and I was up there about 4 years ago. I think when the City of Sebastian did some work, my wife and I started on the south end of it and walked up, and the sidewalk just stopped. And initially I was wondering, why the heck is this stopping here? It made no sense to me, and then I was looking around and I realized, this is the jurisdiction, that it stops at the county line. And it makes no sense. I mean, if you're a visitor to the community and walking along that path, it's not only a great experience, but you just wonder, well, why did they stop here?
Well, there is a tremendous amount of pedestrian traffic, particularly if you go into Sebastian on the weekends along that commercial area, Captain Hiram's, the new Main Street boat dock area that the city has just rebuilt, and they just had a ribbon cutting last Saturday for that project. There's a tremendous amount of pedestrian and bicycle traffic that wants to go along the riverfront and wants to use that sidewalk. And we've noticed, and I didn't have a slide on this, but I pulled the accident and crash data this morning. We've had 11 bicycle and pedestrian accidents recorded on Indian River Drive in the last 11 years. So that's almost a crash per year involving a pedestrian or a bicycle. And staff feels that by moving that, we're supposed to be making our roads multimodal for all modes of transportation. We feel that by moving that bicycle and pedestrian traffic, even though it's close to the road, at least getting them out of pavement, it'd be much safer.
And I have to concur with that. I mean, this is a great project in the right location, and I'm looking forward to the completion date and the cool weather, and look forward to walking it in November.
Any other questions, Commissioners? Mr. Kafer?
Okay. Yes, Chris Kafer, County Engineer. I'd like to add that north of Roseland Road on Indian River Drive, there are a few parcels where we do not have the 66 feet of right-of-way, and that's one reason why that was not extended. Initially, back in 2000, I think that the intent was to go all the way to US 1 on the north end, but because of we could not verify the right-of-way at that time, so we cut it short to Roseland Road, thinking that we would, in the future, extend it up to US 1. Right now, with the right-of-way map that was done a year or two ago, it verified that there is not right-of-way to extend that at this time.
Okay.
I'll move approval of alternative 1.
Second. Second. Got a motion to approve alternative 1 from Commissioner Wheeler with a second from Commissioner Flesher. Would anyone else like to speak? Welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners and staff. My name's Sherry Reichert. I live at 13415 North Indian River Drive. I'm here to support the sidewalk. I'm sorry it took 6 years to get built. Basically, I think it's going to increase the safety greatly on that road, particularly at night. You don't want to be walking on Roseland, up north of Roseland there. It's very dark. The other thing is it's going to increase my property value. So for anyone who lives on that area and is concerned about their property, it's going to increase your value, not lower it. Beautifying the road. There's a lot of areas that during the hurricanes, rubble was just thrown on the side of the road. So this is going to really clean it up and make it look much nicer. My concerns, protect the trees, and I think I've already talked to somebody on staff about the oak trees, going around them or whatever. No signage and no lights. That's just part of Roseland. We like to keep it natural up there. And anyone that would object, I just think that, it's kind of a not in my backyard attitude, and they need to get over it because this is public right-of-way. The public has a right to all the beauty that we see every day. I'm just blessed, and I really am blessed to live there. So I'm happy to share it with everybody. Go for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just in addition, I don't. In the meeting, there was some concerns. We probably had a good 30 people there at least. Maybe even 50 on the 16th, and they were very concerned about garbage being thrown in their yard from pedestrians, people parking, and so those are things that clearly I will keep an eye on and follow up with the residents that came to that meeting. They did have some concerns, and I think we can address and see to it that some of their concerns are going to be met.
Yeah, Chris, can you go back to your arrow of the north half of the section, and maybe Phil Madsen can correct me, but I think at the MPO a couple of meetings ago we learned that I think Florida leads the nation in the number of pedestrian and bicycle accidents and fatalities. So I think this will be good. The next one where it's near the homes. No, there you go. The one thing that struck me about this slide is you see an awful lot of cars and vehicles in that picture, and I can't help but think that one thing that might benefit a lot of those residents is now instead of getting in their car to drive to Captain Hyman's, wherever, they'll have a nice sidewalk now to get there from their own home. So I see this as a benefit. I agree that it'll improve their values, and some of the people had concerns about safety. I think when you put that sidewalk in and you have more people walking it, it becomes safer because now you have people there and it's not dark and deserted. You have people walking by, and so I think that'll actually improve the safety up there. So I think we're all in agreement here.
Yeah, and it was a stark contrast compared to the southern part of this that we did south of the city limits, where you go from city limits all the way down to the Craigle Homestead. They wanted that one, and we couldn't get it done fast enough. In this instance, the neighbors, there was some opposition, but staff really listened to it, reduced the size of it again down from 8 foot to 6 foot, and then where it really did come up next to these people's homes, even though we had right of way, they moved it up to the road edge and to accommodate as much as possible. So, okay, we've got a motion on the floor with a second. Is there any further discussion? Yes, ma'am. Come on up, Ms. Renzi.
Thanks again, Renee Renzi, again, Waverly Place, Vero Beach. What makes it such a pleasant walking area now is that low speed limit within the city limits. I think it's 25 miles an hour. Will the county maintain that low speed limit beyond the city limits?
We've actually set the speed limit on all of Indian River Drive in the unincorporated area at 30 miles per hour, which is the lowest by law that we can set it. So it's about as low as we can go.
That's very nice. I enjoy that.
And also one other concern before we voted, just wanted to, there was a concern about not having benches along the sidewalk, and in this plan, there's no plans for benches, correct? Okay. Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Renzi. All those in favor of alternative 1 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Next, we have the Spoonville Marsh Wetland Facility.
Move staff recommendation.
Motion from Commissioner Solari, move staff recommendation with a second from Commissioner Wheeler. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. And Commissioners, did I pass something up?
Didn't even make a break.
I know it. I know it. In that case, if there's no further business to be transacted at this time, I now declare this meeting adjourned.